The next thing you want to do is document how you do things. What? That doesn't sound so hard, Brian. Try it. I've worked with over 10,000 businesses. I can now tell you, and including myself as a business owner, how incredibly challenging it is to write like a manual that literally says how we do everything. In fact, the first thing is, what do we do? You would think that you knew what you did. You really would. I mean, you run a business. You're serving people. And the first thing we do is we get people down and we say, listen, and by the way, this is Michael Gerber. The reason that most businesses do not work is because the people that started them do. That is my favorite quote of all time in entrepreneurship. That's not true. I've got about 6 of them, but still. Because you look and you go like, what? The reason that most businesses do not work is because the people that started them do. Isn't that what I was supposed to do? You know that you've been conditioned all your life to work? The whole educational system, your upbringing, everything has been teaching you to work, that in order to achieve anything in life, you have to work. And so you can't actually fathom the idea of having a business that works for you instead of, without you doing the work. That it's almost foreign as a concept to you. But statistically, this has been true. Most people that are technicians stuck doing the work of the business instead of the business doing the work of the business, are not business owners, they're not entrepreneurs, they're self-employed, and they're stuck and they're screwed. And I promise you, as harsh as it sounds, that day that you decided to employ yourself, which is what 99% of you did in this room, the day you decided to create a job for yourself by creating a business that you thought would be better than working for somebody, how did that go? Because all of a sudden you had to learn all types of other shit you didn't even think about now in order to make this business work. Haven't you noticed that you work for a worse boss now than you had before? I mean, that's the weirdest thing. We think that I can do what this person's doing. I'm going to start my own business and do it myself. And then like a year later, you think like, he was not such a bad person. You should come work for the person I work for now, which is yourself. So the greatest mistakes, and this is something that E-Myth explored, is that we create jobs for ourselves. In most small businesses, you walk into a job that was created by the person that started the business for themselves. And that's the fundamental flaw. When you do that, I promise you, and it's scary to realize, because most of you in this position, you are screwed. You have literally made the single biggest mistake in entrepreneurship in the world. In fact, you're not an entrepreneur. The E-Myth stands for entrepreneurial myth. And he always says, you're a technician that's having an entrepreneurial seizure. Because you think you're an entrepreneur, but you're not even remotely an entrepreneur. You just created a job for yourself. So I want to be clear that every one of you in this room's objective, and this is why I say it's so important to people starting a business, because if you can actually start a business by saying, how can this business run without me doing the work from day one, you're going to be more successful than most of these people in this room put together. And I've literally seen that in some of my friends that I wanted to strangle. Because I've got in my large community people that never started a business for a job for themselves. In fact, they couldn't even do what the business did. They started a business to do the work. They focused on creating that business and managing that business, and they were making profit before most people could even spell the word profit. Because half of you don't even know what profit is. Right? Because they were business people. They were entrepreneurs. They weren't technicians that wanted to work in the business. So I get it, like, oh shit. So I've already got off to a bad start. Because how many of you know you technicians in your own business doing all the work? Raise your hand. Be proud of the stupidity of what we did. And the people that haven't started a business say, I'm going to stay employed. This is far too much work. I'm out of here. Anyone can give me a job, please. There is a fix. There is a fix. And it is literally what I just said, which is documenting how we do what we do. And let me just run through this quickly. It's called systemizing your business. You would have heard this term before. It's very misused because people think it's buying software to run your business. You've all bought software that does nothing for your business because software is not intelligent enough to figure out all your crap and sort it out. So the last phase of systemizing a business is buying the software or getting the apps in order to operate things effectively. The first phase is that we need to, it's like Obama. Why has he got so many pictures of him doing this? I never see Trump doing that. Trump just seems everything's fine. Creates a lot more chaos than Obama. I think he took it a bit more seriously, because when I Googled, the first picture that came up of somebody going, shoo, was Obama, and there's like 30 of these pictures of him wiping his forehead. Shoo. How do we do this? We start by defining our structure. Our structure is a list of all the activities that are required to run our business. Surely that's not difficult to do. Oh, yes, it is. If I sat you all down now and said, pen and paper, write down every activity that's required, not the detail, but the activity that's required in order to operate your business, I guarantee that every single one of you, bar none, would leave out a big chunk of them. And some of you wouldn't even figure that out until like 3 weeks later, when you were doing the activity and thought, shit, I didn't write that down. Because you live in your head, and you've created a business where you somehow get it to work from but you can't even document what it actually is that you're doing in detail. How the hell are you going to get somebody else to do anything effectively for you if you can't even document it yourself? And by the way, you think you're so good that you can do it all when actually you're cuck. You just, that's another little seizure you have in that why do I have these people? I might as well do it myself. It's the only way it's going to get done right. Every entrepreneur tells themselves that story. If you want a business to operate as a machine, which is the objective, you have to build the machine. And it starts with identifying in detail what has to happen. The average small business has 150 to 200 activities to operate. And when you're a one-person business, what? There's like, how many activities a day do I have to make sure get done properly? Exactly. I want you to get a shock. You will get a shock. Because we have to fix that. You can't fix it until you can see it. And here's the interesting thing, that you need to write the activities that you're not even doing, but you know you should be doing. So let me give you examples. I know people like freak out about this. We define it as roles, primary activities, activities. Here's an example every single person should have in their business, not word for word like I've got it, but it's administration. I mean, you guys all knew when you started your business that you had to become really good at administration, right? I mean, that was the reason you started a business, because you love administration. How many of you do not like doing administration? Damn it. Who the hell came up with that stupid idea? I just want to design the people's websites. I don't want to freaking have to do accounts. Well, I can pretty much ensure that we all have to do it. So in admin, we have debtors, which is also called payments or income. Creditors, which is payments out. So if you don't know the terminology, obviously accounting, which is all the record keeping and legal stuff, and tax and HR and whatever is relevant to your business, right? And so when I do this, I just sit and brainstorm activity. I just list them. I go into a spreadsheet and I just write them down. Everything that comes to mind randomly. And then I sort them. Come out in all types of weird order, right? And I sort them. As I start to sort them and put them into categories, it starts to put a picture. And that picture eventually has to make sense, not just to me, but other people around me. It's not a big document. It's like maybe 5 or 6 pages. But I promise you, even people that don't know your business will be able to recognize if it makes sense. What they won't recognize is the activities related to your specific industry. You definitely want to check with other people in the industry as well. But they will recognize, does it make sense? If I read this, can I actually understand roughly what you're saying that activity is? Because some of you get so complicated and it doesn't make sense and it just doesn't work. Now, this is a simple example. Obviously, there's lots of different roles. Everyone's got marketing. Everyone's got administration. Most of you have sales. Those are common roles. But then the other roles are specific to your industry or service that you do in a particular business or outcome. Does that make sense? Average business on the hundreds or thousands of businesses that we've done this with has 150 to 200 activities, which will be about 4 or 5 pages of small print in this format. It's only the beginning. Yeah, Brian, seriously. Once you've got that, it's usable. There's a whole lot of stuff. I know the time ago we teach this in a lot more extensive to our students. There's a whole lot of stuff you can do with that list of activities. To start off with, when you hire somebody, well, actually just allocate the damn activities amongst whoever you've got in the business, including yourself, even if it's only yourself. Me, drink, me, drugs, me. But you will look at it and you'll start asking. Now, one of the things I do, especially with one-people businesses, I say, look through these activities and tell me which ones you prepare to drop the ball on. And they go, what? I can't drop the ball on anything. I said, my friend, you are dropping the ball every freaking day. I want you to strategically drop the ball. I want you to identify the activities you cannot afford to drop the ball on and identify the ones that you actually can afford to drop the ball in. That doesn't make sense. You're dropping the ball anyway. Choose which balls you drop. If that's all you can achieve, it's already going to help your business, right? But it's only the beginning. So we now allocate. So Michael will talk about creating job descriptions. Like literally, even if you're one person or there's 2 of you in the business, you list all the different roles. That's another term for job descriptions, activity, groups of activities that are allocated to different people. And you allocate them even if you've got 6. What you've actually identified is you doing the work of 6 people. But don't be silly and think you're better than 6 people. You're just through the current necessity doing the work of 6 people. Now you want to start strategically going, how can I make it 3 people? And then 2 people, then 1 people, and eventually no one. Because a lot of you won't even write activities of management in your business. Because you have to manage the business. I thought I'd just go with the flow. I didn't do that. I wrote my whole thing. I thought it was finished. And then I realized I didn't write anything about how to manage, because I was so busy being the technician doing the work, I didn't even think that somebody has to actually manage it effectively. And it turns out there was like 20 or 30 activities on how to manage the business effectively. So, you've got to educate yourself. You're literally showing your brain that's in a state of chaos that this is the blueprint of how your operation or business is supposed to run. Once you've got those activities, you have to write what's called processes. Now, let me just explain in reality. It'll take you can do these activities. I normally give it a week or two. Go and brainstorm it tomorrow. Whenever you've got a number of hours, you can sit, just get onto a spreadsheet and start listing them and sorting them, right? But you want to reflect on it for at least a few weeks, because you will forget a whole lot of them. You will laugh at yourself when you realize some of the most obvious ones that you forget. You'll remember them as you do them. If you're conscious of it, keep that list with you. You'll constantly be adding until you feel like it's finished. So I would recommend, you can do this in a day, but I would recommend you spend a couple of weeks reviewing it until you feel like it is a finished list of activities that are required to run your business. The next phase, you're going to do systematically, piece by piece, and it's going to take you months and months and months. Because you're going to take each activity and you're going to write down a sequential steps. Sequential meaning step by step in order of what has to be done for that activity to be fulfilled. Now, some of you are intuitive, creative people, and you're starting to break out in a sweat and feel like you want to leave because this is just far too much. You want to free yourself from your business? There is no other way. If you cannot document not just what your business does, the activities, but how it does them, you can never release yourself. You'll be micromanaging that business to death. There's no other way. And we've looked at this from 100 angles. I hate this stuff. It's not my natural energy. It's like it's something I struggled with. And as a team, as a whole team, this is something that takes some uncomfortable energy to do effectively. And we're big enough now to bring some help in, but still, it's your business. You need to take control of how that's done. So here's a simple example of making payments. Now, we found out that there's rules around something like payments, and rules are not activities. Rules are rules. We will not buy something if we do not have the money to pay for it. This was actually rules we drew up when we were struggling, coming out of a struggle phase of business. And one of the rules we said is instantaneous exchange. We'll only pay for things, we'll only buy things that we can afford, and we'll pay for them instantly on the receipt of the value. Sometimes even in advance. We'll never pay on a 30-day account. We'll never pay when the value was exchanged a month ago and now we're paying now. We will always, and it was a rule we set. And you can see these rules actually relate to it. And there's all the stuff that we would do. This is quite old, this one, so it's even more complicated now. But in terms of just how we pay our creditors, just how we pay people, there's a whole lot of activities that have to happen to do it effectively. So on the average activity, so there's a whole lot of steps that have to be done effectively. Average activity, you're going to have between 12 and 20 steps. Times that by 150 to 200 activities. You're now sitting with a freaking file like this. And you're like, seriously, Brian, why? Because you want the business to run without you. The business needs to become a machine, or a system as we call it. The people run the system, but the business is run by the system. The people are interchangeable. Somebody leaves, you knew exactly what activities, you knew exactly how they did them. You find somebody else, you train them in, you plug them in, the cog works, the system carries on running. You want to duplicate it, you take the whole system, you duplicate it, and you start another one. And Michael Gerber's statement is simply you want to create a prototype of your business. Whether you want to duplicate it or franchise it is irrelevant, you just want to do it so that it becomes a machine that can work for you instead of you having to work for it. There's no other way around this. It's not actually that complicated if you think of the simplicity of what I'm saying. It's just very complicated to find the time and make the time to do it properly. But I promise you, only the people that have done this effectively have I seen massive growth and shift in their businesses, and more importantly, in their lives. Every person that procrastinates and avoids doing this, nothing. You may fluke success, and you will lose it again as quickly as you made it. Some of you have already achieved that. Because if you didn't know how the hell you did it, how could you repeat it? I'm sorry, maybe you came to a seminar where you thought it's like, hey, no problem, just read this 6 times every night and your life will be sorted. I wish. So yes, it's okay, I can sort this out, but it's going to take a lot of effort and time. This is what we call working on a business instead of in a business, by the way. People always ask me, what is working on a business? This is working on a business, as an example. Once you've got a business that's systemized, I just want to see if I put the last thing. Yes, last thing about these computer systems and apps. They are there. Write this down, seriously. A computer system or an application, as it's commonly known, be it on, we spoiled for choice. There's thousands of them out there, and they cost nothing nowadays. Is there to monitor your processes, that's the steps that you take to do an activity, and where possible, automate them. If you don't have the processes, the system ain't going to do nothing for you. The system does not do your accounting for you as an accounting piece of software. You have to have a process that's input into the system, which means that I'm feeding the system through my process, and the system is where possible automating and monitoring what you feed in it so that you as a business owner can see what the hell's going on. That's what a computer system or an app is for. And there's tons of them out there. Your hard job is to find the ones that are relevant for your business. 15 years ago, most of them were so expensive we couldn't get them. Nowadays, there's too many bloody of them. So we've gone from one extreme to the other. But on one side, it's a blessing for us small business owners because there's free stuff. There's just ridiculous amounts. But they're worthless to you if you don't have a process, if you haven't identified how your business does things. And then you're looking for systems that help you monitor and automate that versus buying a system and trying to adapt your business to the system. Because we're spoiled for choice, there will always be one out there that'll do it the way you want it done. So it's very, very important. Once you've systemized your business, you can effectively allocate activities. You can say, your responsibility are these 11 activities. Your responsibility are these 9 activities. That in alone starts to transform your business. By the way, I take this a lot further. I value every activity. I value every activity in terms of how much I believe it's worth to my business to have that activity done effectively every time. So when I have to hire somebody and they're going to do these 14 activities, I literally look at the sum of the values of all of those activities. Now, if it's a repetitive one, I look at the average. How many times do we issue an invoice? It's worth at least 25 Rand every time to issue an invoice effectively. 100 times, 2,500 Rand. That's what it's worth to have somebody effectively. I literally do this in a neutral mind, not when you're hiring somebody because then you're going to bullshit the numbers to pay them less. Simple, realistic question. How much is it worth for that to be done effectively every time on behalf of your business? There's other things about natural energy. We look at what's the best suited natural energies. There's all types of tools that you can really take this way further in terms of how it can help your business. But you've got to do it. It's worthless without it. Walking in as a consultant to your chaos, I don't want to sort your freaking chaos out. And anyone that tells you they want to sort your chaos out, they're lying. No one wants to sort out other people's chaos. And that's what you guys are living in, is chaos. Chaos means disorder. That's all it means, disorder. You're living in disorder. Things are not structured. They're not written down. There's no plan. There's nothing that tells you how it's supposed to happen. And I promise you, whatever you're suffering from in life, not enough money, struggling with people, struggling with time, any symptom, we identify 9 common symptoms in business under those 3 categories. Every symptom, if you have the symptom, don't have enough money, behind it will be chaos. We have found most consistently that if we help you fix the chaos and turn the chaos into order, that suddenly you start to make money. We check the money as the outcome, but it's like sickness. It's not. We often have symptoms, but the symptoms aren't the problem. We treat the symptom, we've got to treat the cause of the symptom. And this is the commonalities we can find amongst most people's businesses. You can effectively allocate activities. You can train people how to do those activities. You have something to hold people accountable to, and you can easily replace people. And Michael Gerber's got a beautiful saying. He says, you don't hire extraordinary people to work in your company. You can't afford them. You hire ordinary people to work in an extraordinary system to make them extraordinary people. The system makes ordinary people extraordinary. Just think about that. It's kind of an interesting logic, right? So you don't have to go and hire the best people in the world. In fact, you can hire people that are nowhere near the best. But the system can be the best, and your company can work more effectively than companies that have the best people in the world in them. Your business will be more efficient, more effective, and can easily be duplicated. It'll be worth more money. Don't even get me going, because the valuation of a business that can operate on paper, an investor will spend a lot more money buying that if you don't have to be there when they buy it. If they have to hire you for 2 years to work in your own damn business that they bought from you, they're going to pay you as little as they can to do that. If you can give them a turnkey operation that's already making money and say, there it is, and it's all documented, and everyone's trained, it is worth so much more. And all of you should be looking to maximize the value of your business, whether you choose to sell it or not, in terms of how it performs.